Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Crow's Nest. I'm sorry this has taken so long. I've been wanting to do one for quite a while now, but there were a number of things sort of waiting in the wings that I wanted to announce on this segment, and some of them are ready to go and some aren't. So rather than wait any longer, I just decided to go ahead and put this out. So first things first, I want to say I was hugely humbled to be nominated by Dicebreaker for a number of tabletop awards. And then at PAX Unplugged, I found out that we got both RPG of the Year and Rising Star Publisher of the Year. So I've got a lot to live up to this year, but we'll see what we can do. And I'm hugely humbled for those awards. So thanks to the folks there and all of the amazing judges that voted on Coyote and Crow. We also got one of the top RPGs of the year on Game Informer, which was huge. I didn't expect that at all, and that was really amazing as well. So thanks to them. And there's also a couple of other awards that are potentially floating around out there that I haven't heard back on yet. They haven't been announced, but we'll see in the coming months how that goes. So first things first, Stories of the Freelands updates. So where are we at? So right now, we're in the development layout process. We've got a few that are finished. A few stories of the 10 that are finished, including the bonus story from Alan Turner. So where we're at with those is that we're going through a development process one by one with them and kind of going through them and making sure that they work. What I mean by that is that the stories were often written by folks who either didn't have RPG experience, or even if they had RPG experience, were coming into this new because the system's new, right? So a lot of these folks were coming at it, even though they had a template and examples to work from, were working under, I don't want to say misconceptions, just a lack of experience in writing in this format. So while the stories are fantastic, what we're doing is on the development side is going through and making sure that they're playable and consistent. And that these work as, these 10 stories don't just work as 10 standalone stories, but also work as guides for all of you as players, so that you can take these 10 stories and go, I can get an idea now of what's possible with storytelling in Coyote and Crow. And again, these 10 stories are just the launching point. But we'll get to that a little later, because I've got some good news there too. What else is going on? Let me go back to going back to the Stories of the Freelands real quick. I should also say that on our current pace, I don't have an exact date for when they're going to be done, but I will say that the pace is picking up, because both in the development and the layouts, we're getting into a rhythm, and those are picking up pace now that we've got a sort of an established rhythm for those. So while I can't give you an exact date, I will say that they will be released soon. They will go out to backers first. And then once they've had a chance to sit with the backers for a little bit, for a period of time, I don't know exactly what that period of time is going to be, but most of them, 8 of the 10, will be released to Drive-Thru RPG and to Roll20, and then also be available individually on our web store for download. We'll determine a price point at that time. We don't have a price point set up for them. But yeah, so that's where we're at with those. I'm really excited. That brings me to my next thing. Our next crowdfunding is going to be for a standalone tabletop game. I've mentioned this in a few interviews, and I've talked about it in a few places, but I consider this my official announcement for this. And that game is called Wolves. And here's a little teaser. This is our logo for that. For the game. And just to give you just the general parameters of what this game is a standalone tabletop game for 3 to 6 players. It will be focusing on a semi-cooperative element, with the basic concept being you're all leaders of a community who all have to work together for shared survival. If any community fails to meet its community's needs, all players lose the game. But if all players make it through to the end of the season, the game is played through 4 seasons, 1 year. If all players make it through to the end, then one player also gets an additional singular victory. So there's sort of a balance between doing what's best for you and your community while also making sure that others survive. There's a lot of elements that I'm really proud of in the game. It's come a long way. Been working on this now for almost 2 years. We've got some incredible art on board. Got an incredible design team coming on board to do the layouts. We're also going to be working on, as much as possible, on a very eco-friendly model. My goal, we don't have this locked in yet, obviously, because we're still in the design phase for this, but my goal is to be 100% recycled, no plastics involved at all, as much compostable as we can. And yeah, going for as an eco-friendly a model as we can do. So I'm really proud of Wolves, and it's going to be my first game that has my name on the front of the box. So I want to make sure this is really dialed in well. We're also working on some concepts for community outreach for those. We're taking some cues from what we did with Coyote and Crow, both where that was successful and where it wasn't successful as far as community copies. But we're going to be doing definitely some outreach and making sure we get to these folks get these games out to some folks who maybe couldn't normally afford it. Next thing, organized play. So we've got two great people, Kitty and Logan. Kitty and Logan are working hard right now on our organized play system. What that is going to be is still taking shape, but there are going to be at least three main sort of components to that. One is we're going to have a en masse online ongoing events that groups can participate in, similar to something like D&D Beyond. Obviously not to that scale. We're probably going to start small, but people will be able to join in and participate in these global events, these things that take place, and add them to their campaigns or interact with them. The second thing is we're working hard to make sure that we have a consistent and accessible convention presence, so that at all the major conventions we've got some kind of organized play going where you can join in on one-shot adventures and have a good time. And then the third thing is possibly a Patreon element where you'll be helping support Kitty and Logan's efforts to do store outreach, more convention events, basically all of the organized play efforts. And again, this is a very rough sketch of everything that's going on, and we do not have any of this locked in yet, but it is coming into focus. And our goal is we really want to give folks a sense that they have an easy ramp into the game, because I know there's a lot of folks who are excited to play, but they're not really sure where to start. So hopefully organized play is going to help that a little bit. And it's definitely on the top tier of things I want to happen this year. Related to that, and part of that is the Fireside Initiative. So that's on DriveThruRPG. We really want folks to feel as though they can create their own Coyote and Crow content, whether it's stories or monsters or weapons or tech gear or just straight fiction. If you just want to write about the world of Coyote and Crow, you have our full permission and encouragement and blessing to dive into that Fireside. Just read through the requirements there, through both drive-throughs requirements and art guidelines, and go for it. Put out what you'd like to put out. You'll make money on it. Fireside or drive-through makes a little money, and then I make a little money as well. But you're going to be making a big chunk of money as well. And it just works for everybody. Everybody wins in this scenario. So, and then we have some other partnerships that I can't officially announce yet, but I can say that we're really close to being official. So we're working with a couple of groups on the potential for minis. I don't want to say more right now, but oh man, I want to tell you all. There's so much cool stuff going on. So some minis, some possible expansion books. We're working with another company to bring you all some really cool merch. And they are a native-owned company, and you'll be able to buy that merch directly through our website, and then they will produce it and ship it directly to you. So we're getting the best of all the worlds there. We're cutting out all of the middlemen on that, except for the credit card processing companies, right? It's about the best we can do in this scenario. And then we've got two folks working on localizations, one in Italian and one in Portuguese. I'm still working on finding someone who can do either a French or even preferably a French-Canadian translation of Coyote and Crow, the core rule book. So if any of my watchers out there know of a company that would be good to talk to about doing a French-Canadian localization, please let me know. And please don't just spam me with French-Canadian companies. They need a company that knows what they're doing as far as localizing someone else's RPG. So I appreciate that. Yeah, so then that brings me to what we've got planned for later in the year. So like I said, our next crowdfunding effort is going to be for Wolves, the board game. And then we're going to be doing a setting book that I'm working on. And I can't tell you too much about it yet. I've already dropped one hint somewhere about it, a very specific hint. And there is going to be more to come. But what I can say about this setting book is that it's going to be a fictional location, a small fictional location. And we're going to be doing things a little differently. Unlike Stories of the Freelands, or unlike Encounter at Station 54, which we have in the book, which is a very sort of structured one-shot module style adventure, we're going to be doing this slightly different. This setting book is going to be a resource tool that is going to have all kinds of characters and concepts and story prompts and multimedia elements all baked into this book. But there's not going to be necessarily a linear story structure. Instead, the story guides are going to have a lot of elements and tools to pull from to create their own stories set in this location. They could even export them to other locations if they want. They can feel free to just take this apart and use it for its component parts. But I really want to create an overall atmosphere and a concept with this book. And it's something that's been very near and dear to me for a long time. I've had this idea since I first started working on Coyote and Crow, and it's sort of my dream project. So unlike the last book, I'm going to be working with a much smaller set of people this time. I'm working with a few consultants, a few linguists, one artist, and we're going to have, there's going to be some other stuff too. I'm not quite ready to talk about it yet, but we will have official stuff soon on that. And that will probably be later this year. The other thing that we're working on, and I don't think this is going to be able to make it to crowdfunding this year, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We've got another game coming that is more involved and directly set in Coyote and Crow, and is a card game. That one, though, while we're mechanically, we're just about wrapping up. We're in the final stages of testing on that one. It's going to require a lot of design and art elements in it. And that may take a little while for us to kind of get up to speed to where we want to be on it. So I'm not exactly sure on the timeline on that. And a lot of that has to do with also where, like how fluid things move with both Wolves and with this setting book, but then also sort of where the company Coyote and Crow Games goes over this next year, sort of our pacing as far as our funding and our profits and blah, 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 the sort of business angle of the thing, as well as sort of like the wider economy. There are some, concerns out there that with China facing COVID, we might be facing another factory shutdown at some point. Who knows if that's going to affect factories and or shipping again. So I don't want to project out too far. I would love to say that here's our slate for the next 16 months. But I can't quite do that yet. So, but yeah, so what I can say is that coming down to my last thing on my list for today is that I've made an exception to my rule regarding conventions in places that are happening in states where Roe v. Wade was overturned. Now, the exception in this case is we're still not having a booth. Part of my core concept there is that I don't want Coyote and Crow's profits to be taxed by states who are going to be spending money funding bills that have taken rights away from women or keeping rights away from women. So the exception here is that I've decided to attend Digipop X, which is happening in Oklahoma City in a few months. Well, hell, next month. I guess we're into February now. It's happening next month. A friend and colleague convinced me to go ahead and attend. This was just too important to not be around my fellow Indigenous creatives and pop culture fans. So I decided I'm going to attend. I'm jumping into it sort of at the last minute. So as of right now, I'm just attending as a patron at the con like everybody else. That said, who knows? I might end up on some panels or something like that. I'm going to try to work with my organized play team to see if we can get some games going while we're there. We'll have to wait and see, but I will announce that as we get closer. Like I said, it is kind of last minute, so with only about a month to go, it's going to be a little tough to kind of scrape stuff together, but I'm going to try my best to do something cool with that. So so that's kind of where we're at. Lots of exciting stuff. One last thing. Again, please, if you know of a reservation library, a regular library, a school, a community center, any kind of place that has public access to books that would like a copy of Coyote and Crow, please have them go to our site, coyoteandcrow.net, and then have them go down to the outreach and donations page under resources, have them fill out that form, and I will work on getting them a book. We still do not have the mass distribution of donation copies that I would like bulk distribution or a way for that to happen. We're still working on some concepts and some ideas there, but the sheer volume of books that are available for the donation is just overwhelming for any of the nonprofits that I've spoken with, including the ALA, the AILA, and the ALATM, are all not capable of doing the volume of books that we're talking about. So in the meantime, I'm still doing the one at a time system. So have folks reach out to me. Thank you so much, everybody, for your support lately. It's been amazing to get these awards. It's amazing to get the attention and the recognition for the game, and it's great to see so many people starting to play the game. The Four Directions Twitch streamers who did the live stream the other day looked amazing and looked really fun. We might be working with them in the future if all works out well, or at least helping them out, helping them to produce their campaign. So we'll see where this all goes, but so far this year, it seems like it's going to be a good year for Coyote and Crow games. Hope you all take care of yourself, be kind to each other, and I'll see you out there soon.